my very best to get this job that I so crave.
Hello, everybody. This is Multiplex Fanzone. I'm not Tim Brzakala. What? I know, right? And God, Tim got way more Mexican. But
where's Bucky?
But yeah, I don't know if anybody else has done this other than Tim. I don't know. We're not going to worry about it. But we got a second round debate matchup. Our number 3 seed, Cameron Holzmann. Number 6 seed, Nazario Montenegro. It should be these guys have passed, kind of, speak for themselves. They're established here. Should be really got 2 judges along with me. Brooklyn Vale, Brian Michaels. We'll start with Brooklyn. Brooklyn, what do you think what kind of match we got today?
This is kind of on a polar opposites in terms of styles. Cam is very well prepared. Like I think he stays within the parameters and he makes sure that whoever he's fighting stays within those parameters with him. Whereas Nazario is kind of like Ringo. He's like the king of feel. Whenever he hears something, he's just kind of like, all right, I'm going to attack this. And I think that's where he's kind of like a counter debater almost. So I think this is going to be a nice matchup.
Right. Brian.
Yeah, the monkeys running the inmates running the asylum. Mixing up my metaphors there. Yeah, so this is gonna be fun. These are 2 guys who, I said this in the last debate, judged as well, in that these are 2 guys who are known in the community as they're generally nice people. They're generally nice to talk to. They're nice guys, but really you get them in a debate and they both get very aggressive and hostile. Nazario a little more sarcasm to his attacks on him, but this is gonna be a fun one and I'm looking forward to it.
Right. Might as well bring out our players. First, talking to Mr. VHS.
Oh, not the cards again.
Nazario.
I will use it as long as I have it. I am the singles champion of the League of Cinephiles, and I'm proud of it. How you doing, guys?
I just figure you would tell us, how you were doing. I got nothing. I don't know what you're doing.
I'm alright. I ate like a burger and it's not sitting well, so I'm a little gassy. So you're lucky you don't get smell-o-vision because, other than that, the smell might just be my opponent because he's a turd.
Well, I should have just kind of, let that one go. But, here we are. It's just, bring a camera.
Nazario, are you in a supply closet?
Kinda. It's a supply room where I keep my toys in boxes in the house.
Gotcha.
Cameron, how you doing today? How the hell are you?
I am doing great, Mexican Tim. How are you today?
That's his new name. We got it.
No, I'm good. Yeah, like you said at the beginning, when I found out I was playing Nazario, I went, this is gonna be maybe the most interesting fan zone match there has ever been. Because Nazario and I could not be more different, I think, as competitors in terms of our styles, in terms of how we play, in terms of the things that we like. And so, yeah, I did my best to prepare for this. But Lord knows when you're playing Nazario, the only preparation you can do is praying to whatever deity you believe in and hoping for the best.
Well, we both are fat, though, so we have that in common.
I, too, feel like I am going to fart myself during this match.
Awesome. All right. I do not regret having to lead off this thing at all. So here's the deal. You guys know what we're doing, but, I'll tell you anyway. You guys drafted a couple questions each. You guys drafted 2 questions each. You're going to get start off with these questions. You're going to get a 1-minute opening from each of you, then get a 5-minute free form, and then each get a minute to close it out. Then at the end of that, me, Brian, Brooklyn, take our whiteboards, and we're going to write who we thought won that particular question. Whoever gets the majority gets a point. First with 3 points wins the game. And we get through those 4 questions, and we're all tied up. Going to get a bonus question. I don't know if Tim mentioned that at all, but, I'm going to mention it here. So might as well just get this going once I get the thing. Oh wow, Tim is right. That one is very long. So we're just gonna go ahead and get started with your very first question, and that question is drafted by Cameron, and it was in the category of musicals, I believe, musicals. And the question is, what post 2010 music live action musical should get a sequel? Now, this is Cam's question, and he will get 1 minute when he begins.
So when it comes to figuring out what should get a sequel, you need to look at the things that came before it and see where the potential is, how it has room to move forward, and also is it wanted and is it warranted. So the movie that I chose was Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again, and that we should get a third film in the Mamma Mia series. At the end of Here We Go Again, we see this whole new arc. We see all of the narrative pass over now onto Sophie, and she has a son. It sets her forward in this arc. And we have the ability to possibly jump forward in time and now do a movie focusing on the relationship between mother and son instead of this mother-daughter dynamic that we've had for 2 movies. It allows us to move this story and its stakes to a fresh new place, a fresh new time. Since then, there's so much more ABBA music that also has been released, and a lot of ABBA music that hasn't been used in the first 2 films. And so there is this potential, this ability to track down all of these other things, to bring them in and still utilize these things that have not yet been used. There is an audience want for it. There's a cast and crew want for it. And overall, it justifies its existence. It has a reason to exist, and it has somewhere to go so that it won't just be a wasteful movie that nobody wants, nobody needs, and nobody feels was warranted.
All right, time already. Take you at Cam, bring in Nazario, and you will have 1 minute when you begin. Start talking.
Most musicals are pretty self-contained. They tell a story, they use some music, and they entertain us for a bit. But sometimes they find an audience later, like what's the case with Popstar, Never Stop, Never Stopping. It's a music movie that is hilarious. Lonely Island hits it out of the park with the humor and the quality, and most people just found that out at video, so they didn't get the chance to experience it at theater, so there's a demand for it. I figure you can just go back to it. The movie ends with the band getting back together, and you can just have Connor and his mates figuring out that the music scene has changed. Everything is streaming now, and the old tricks don't work. Like Owen is very excited about this. He could do like new techniques of sounds and stuff, but Lawrence is more of like an old school guy, and the stars doesn't mesh. You have the possibility for lots of celebrity cameos, music artists, and you can just make it a very, very fun movie for the people who never actually got the experience theatrically, the pop star phenomenon.
All right, it's time. Okay, bring in Cam, and 5 minute freeform, guys. Going when first you all start talking.
Yeah, my movie is fun. It's funny. It has potential. It has to experience new stories with the band. We never got to see the band together for the first movie. It was mostly just Connor for real, by himself. And now we get a whole different dynamic, and we can make comedy out of this. Your series already got 2 movies, and some people would say one more than it needed, because it's basically just a flashback movie with the history of old Donna. And Donna is dead. I don't know why would you be interested in following it with like a new kid, but I do not see the potential of continuity that you promise so much.
See, but the thing is, it's not just a flashback movie. At least half of that movie is focusing on Sophie, focusing on her struggles now that Donna is gone. How does she move forwards with that? How does she move forward, taking on the family business, being pregnant, raising a child, and being able to see where she goes after she has had that child, where you have this new potential for a male lead that can actually take center stage as we jump forward in time, where we're going to, in my pitch, we jump forward in time and we focus on her son coming of age and sort of living in this world where he has 3 grandfathers, a mother who doesn't really know who she totally is yet. This very interesting relationship. There's all this new music. Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again was a sequel to a stage musical adaptation where there was no sequel, and it made the most of that. People didn't necessarily ask for it, but they loved what they got and they had a great time. The problem with Popstar is that you are asking for a movie where we focus on the band now. One of the worst parts of the first movie is the fact that Owen and Lawrence are boring ass characters.
That is your opinion.
they are relegated to the side for a reason, and we want to focus on Connor. And the jokes in that movie mostly rely on celebrity cameos, rely on just and taking away from him and just doing the same thing over and over and over again. It doesn't elevate
That's pitching. You can have more celebrity cameos and make more jokes about it, because that is what Lonely Island excels at humor, and the most important part of the movie itself is humor. It's a musical movie, yes, because the band is going to be the center stage, but that you say Owen and Lawrence are boring, that is your opinion, man. Owen is hilarious in every single thing he appears in, and Lawrence as the lumberjack is just nuts. You can just exploit that,
and I can tell that you think they're boring and uninteresting because you got their names wrong and don't know which one is which. They are not even dynamic enough for you to tell the difference between them when
you are telling me that you want to pitch a whole new movie based on the story of the girl who couldn't carry the second movie by herself. They had to add half a movie of flashbacks from her dead mother just to complete the story. And focusing on the sons and the next generations, it doesn't work. Have you seen Live Free or Die Hard? I'm sorry, A Good Day to Die Hard. A Good Day to Die Hard has the kid, Jai Courtney, and it's supposed to launch the Die Hard.
The biggest problem with that movie is that it's stuck with the past and trying to deal with the father of Bruce Willis, John McClane, who doesn't want to do this. We are free of the ties of Meryl Streep, and we can move on to this.
So you tell me Jai Courtney was the reason that movie could have been a hit?
I think if we left behind Bruce Willis, who didn't care, and gave a movie 100% of the interest that it deserved, absolutely. Mamma Mia has a cast who has repeatedly, enthusiastically expressed interest in coming back. Lily James, Pierce Brosnan, Stellan Skarsgård, Amanda Seyfried, all of them want to come back and make this movie.
Brosnan cannot even dance.
Kramer, the producer,
Pierce Brosnan cannot even dance or sing, and you were going to put him in the center of a musical. Listen, man, like the cast is aging out. Like, basically, you're telling me at the same time that you want to do a whole new story with the son and stuff, but you're going to bring all the old folks that basically are mummified by this point. This is not going to work. Also, most musicals that are based on a single band, barely have enough hits, not songs, hits to fill one movie. You already spent 2 movies of hits from the ABBA collection. What are you really going to do? You're going to end up reusing the hits for the 3rd movie, and it's just going to feel repetitive again.
At the end of the day, ABBA has released brand new music that charted and won awards in the years since Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again was released. As well, they have a full catalog of songs still left. Under Attack, Don't Shut Me Down, When All Is Said and Done, Summer Night City, all of these beloved songs that contain stories within them that can be elements used in this story that pushes.
Most people cannot tell you the difference between those songs.
It isn't just a blatant repeat of the last films, which is what you're pitching your pop.
Mine is not a blatant repeat. It's completely different. It's a new scene musically with the streaming service like Spotify and Apple Music and iTunes. And the band cannot figure it out. The band cannot figure it out because it is a whole new world for them. They are trapped in the old 90s style boy band things. And the hilarious part is that they are trying to make that fit in a new world where it doesn't fit.
All right, time. Okay. Now with that, Nazario, you get 1 minute to close. Oop. Wrong person.
You can even explore the fascination with the Korean pop bands and all the things that are popular now and how it would not work with the old style the band has. You have the guy who loves technology. You have the guy who wants stuck in his old ways, and Connor who just wants to be famous. You can bring all celebrities. They have a lot of potential to just be funny, which is what we want out of this movie, and the experience to be in theater for people who didn't get the first one. Mamma Mia has already had 2 movies, spent all of the ABBA hits. He's talking about new songs. What band has new material in their musicals? They're based on the hits. The hits are gone. And he wants to use it to launch a new generation of the son of the main girl from Amanda Seyfried when she couldn't even carry the second movie by herself. And when I tell him that, but he's bringing all the cast back. But it's also a new generation. So what is it? What is it?
All right, season about 7 seconds. All right. Now, Holzmann, you got a minute. Use it.
Nazario's pitch is that it should touch on new things like streaming. It already touched on streaming in the first movie when he had the whole streaming it to dishwashers and washing machines and stuff like that. All he's pitching is the same jokes or more celebrity cameos, more jokes of the same characters who are not as interesting and take away focus from Connor. There is no reason for anything Nazario is pitching to be a sequel to Popstar and not a different, more original concept from the Lonely Island, who are currently broken up and all working on their own individual things. Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again has the potential to play off of the last two movies. The band has released new music. I'm not saying they write new music for this. They have released new music that can be used for this new movie. They have a story. They have a place to move forwards. They have a cast, a crew, a producer, a director who all want to come back. Musicals and music movies are at their best when they give us an escape from the real world. Mamma Mia and Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again gave us a fun and fantastic movie where we can leave our cares behind for 2 hours instead of Popstar shining this light on this corporate music society that we live in where everyone is trying to work their best and their hardest for their profit. There's nothing new and different Popstar can do, but Mamma Mia can.
But Mamma Mia can. Strike that from the record. Do my best, Tim. All right. Now I'll bring in everybody
He really
else.
is Mexican Tim.
Okay. Judges, please God, write something. All right. You guys ready?
Yep.
Okay. I'm gonna start us off. I think for this one, I am actually gonna give the edge to Nazario. I don't know, like I feel like he kind of got me a bit, at least with kind of going off that Mamma Mia's already got a sequel. They already went in there. It kind of brought up, that ABBA does kind of live on the hits. That one kind of sunk for me. They don't really have kind of new music. Kind of brought in then having to kind of rely off of their old characters. Kind of they couldn't really kind of hang it on with that. With like kind of they couldn't really hang on with like they kind of had to mix in, and it kind of brought the Die Hard example. It kind of swayed me a little bit in that one. So for me, I'm going to give that first point to Nazario.
I would like to see both these sequels, by the way. I was not convinced by the Die Hard tangent. That was a weird thing to me to go into. I didn't really follow that one. My point actually did go to Cameron. While I think both of them would be sequels I would want to see, and they both deserve sequels. I think Cameron did a better job pitching to me an idea of what his movie is about and kind of what it would look like. Whereas Popstar, a lot of it was just more jokes and just different things about the industry, things like that. I will say that Nazario almost had it when he started hitting back at the fact that they have used up all their hits. I mean, they have new music, obviously, put songs in it, but at the same time, a lot of people see lots of musicals that don't have known songs in it, so it could work.
All right, Brooklyn, break the tie.
Muted, but it says Cameron.
Yeah.
Sorry, I did end up going with Cameron. Yeah, no, I thought this was really good. I thought like the kind of the actually moment that Cam had where he kind of called out Nazario's misinformation on the characters. I thought that was kind of a big moment there. I do agree with Brian though that Nazario did kind of come back whenever he started talking about the kind of the context of the music as well. They have made new music and it's okay. They would kind of have to go back to some of them. Also, and I thought Nazario also did a really good job of bringing up like Pierce Brosnan couldn't lead like this next sequel. But yeah, no, Cam got it for me.
Alrighty. With that, Cam does win the first point, so he's going to be up 1-0. Take these guys, and which brings us to your next question, which was a category. It was drafted by Nazario, which is in category sci-fi icons. Question: what is the best kill in a sci-fi icons movie? All right, Nazario is your question, so you will get a minute to raise your point. Start talking.
To be the best kill in a sci-fi icons film, you have to be something memorable. You have to be something that sticks with you. And boy, do I have one that it is. This kill has stuck with me for over 36 years. The first time I saw RoboCop, it just shocked me. Emil is leading the attack of Clarence. Clarence is leading with all his minions on RoboCop at the end of the movie. Emil hits this tank of toxic waste, and it falls on him. And you just expect him to, don't be in the movie anymore, but he still is. He is melting. He's like a human mess of melting, and you're like, oh shit, it's a shocking visual. And then not only that, after you think he's already gone from the movie, he comes back in the middle of the streets and gets run over by a car, and he explodes into liquid humanity. It's memorable. It's iconic. It has shock value. It's very cinematic, and it stays with you. And also, I think it's significant to the narrative because it's a pivotal moment when you can see how the conflict has escalated, because now it's affecting everybody in his gang too, in Clarence's gang.
Ents gang. Got off Claire. Okay. By Nazario. Holzmann, you have a minute. Start talking.
I think for something to be considered the best kill in a sci-fi icon film, it not only has to be memorable, but it has to set the tone for what it is you're seeing and elevate the movie that it's in just because of its existence and of its part that it plays in it, both visually and narratively. And that's why I went with the chest burster from the original Alien. Within the context of the film, that chest burster sequence perfectly sets up the tone, the danger, and the stakes of what our heroes are going through. And it takes the slowly building tension of that first act where you don't fully know what's happening, and it pays it off just like that into this moment where you immediately realize that our characters are in way over their heads, are in this unbeatable danger, or so it may seem, and that they have no idea what is about to happen to them, but that it's going to be bad. Throughout all of pop culture, people have seen the chest burster scene and tried to replicate it, and they can never do as well as they have in Alien because you cannot do better than that. It sets the tone, it sets the threat, it narratively pushes the story forwards into the incredible, amazing sci-fi horror movie that we know Alien to be, and it does a great job through its effects and its story.
Okay. I don't know, Ori. I don't know. I don't know if you said story.
You hadn't finished counting on my screen.
5 minutes.
I think what makes it work for me with Emil and RoboCop is it's so unexpected and so it's a whole thing. Like, you expect them to be in a shootout, you expect them RoboCop to maybe kill some of the gang members. You don't expect a person to actually become a melted human being. So the visual effects are so memorable in this that you can remember the scene as long as you watch it. Like, they use physical effects for the whole thing, and you can just see him moaning and melting just before he gets hit by the car and he becomes a splash on the screen. Is the chest burster popular? Yes, it's a very popular thing done in the Alien franchise. But the original one was very simple. It's a scene that lasts a few seconds. It's pretty basic. It's not even visually impressive. You can actually see the puppeteering of the alien when it comes out of the chest running out of the room. And it doesn't really move the plot forward. It's just a thing that needed to happen so you could have the big alien then and have something more meaningful for the rest of your movie.
I think the thing is that's not the case. Emil's death being unexpected, the background check. Emil's death being unexpected isn't a thing where it's not this big surprise and it's great. It's out of place. You say that, sure, the chest burster is this very quick and instant moment. Emil's death goes on for way too long, where we get 2 full minutes of him wandering around as this like mutated toxic waste person.
Because it's amazing.
When it is distracting from the real villain who actually matters to the movie in Boddicker, and when he gets hit by the car, he ends up taking down Boddicker himself when it could have been given to RoboCop or to Anne, who are characters who are far more important and consequential. The thing about the death of Alien is you're saying it comes out of nowhere. No, it does not. It is built up to in that entire first act. You see through the performance in John Hurt, you see through his acting that there is something clearly wrong, that he is not okay. It builds and
that is wrong. That is wrong because John Hurt becomes unconscious the moment he gets the chest burster scene. He becomes unconscious, so he's not acting anything. And the moment he takes it off, he's like, yeah, I'm feeling fine, let's go eat. Immediately he goes to the dining scene and he explodes in less than 5 minutes later. He doesn't even get to act like he's affected. You don't even get to suspect that something has changed with him because the scene goes on too fast. But Emil's death is not long just because of the sake of being long. It's because it's creating a story, it's creating a narrative. He also meets with one of the other goons and he just yells at him, "Save me, help me," because he's becoming this deformed thing. And the guy's just like, "Leave me out, don't touch me, man," because like they don't have a close relationship. They're just goons. And the reason why we keep being invested in it is because the extremely well done physical effects that they're doing. It's shocking, it's surprising, and it's very memorable. And it's just something you will remember from the movie.
I'm sorry, but the effects I don't think are actually that well done. The movie is
better than the Chestbuster.
The movie is constantly cutting away from Emil and from his death, where we don't actually get to see him totally pulverize and turn into goo. You see the half a second where it hits, and then just a windshield covered in goo. You get the practical blood effects. You get the fake torso. You get the incredibly made puppets by H.R. Geiger in the alien chestburster scene. As well, you are fully discounting John Hurt. As much as when the actual death and immediate kill happens, there is acting from him leading up to it where you see his pain, you see something is wrong. And it's not just the acting on John Hurt's face, it's the people around him. You can see that his death affects himself, it affects everyone around him, that everyone is realizing in that instant that it has set up this threat, that something is terribly, horribly wrong with him and with the things going on their ship.
You cannot have it both
they
ways.
Are
Man.
dead
You cannot
now
say,
because of the mistakes they've
you
made.
have to let me speak, man. You cannot say that the scene with Emil takes too long and then that they don't focus on him enough. You cannot have it both ways. And what I'm telling you is John Hurt didn't really get to act, and you know it because he's basically, after the facehugger drops him, he's no longer than 2.5 minutes when he's already dead. So there's no acting in that scene. And you're saying that the puppets are amazing. I'm telling you, you can see the puppet handling when they drag the alien out of the room. And they don't reference this moment again. They don't even focus on the significance of John Hurt's death again, because everybody's just looking for what's next. And what everybody remembers from that movie is that, yes, the giant alien puppet that they used for the rest of the movie. I forgot the name. The giant puppet, the giant alien form that they use for every other scene in the movie. The Chestbuster scene is something that just happens because it needed to happen. It's so insignificant that most of the other alien movies just skip it and show you a hole in a person. That's what they do.
I'm sorry, but you can't say that they ignore it and they forget it and they don't remember it when you specifically just said they reference that kill. They show that people have been chestbursted, and there is a visual chestburster scene in at least one more Alien film. It knows that it can never be better than that. It goes back and references that, and you cannot underplay the fact that this is one of the most iconic and most celebrated scenes in film history, let alone in sci-fi icons.
Okay. That was it. All right. Sorry, Cameron, 1 minute to close.
At the end of the day, Emil's death actively detracts from RoboCop as a film. It goes on for way too long, it wastes screen time, and it takes agency away from our main characters who we're trying to be rooting for, and instead lets him getting hit by a car and turn to goo be the thing that takes down Boddicker in the middle of this car chase. It actively detracts from the narrative. It is forgettable, frankly, and it does not matter, and the effects are not that great. Alien uses this kill to set the tone of the entire franchise and the entire movie moving forwards. It has fantastic visual effects, fantastic performances. Nazario can underplay John Hurt's performance in this scene all he wants, but he is wrong. Hurt, in that little bit of screen time that he does have, makes the absolute most of it. He relies on the people around him and uses their reactions to the greatest effect possible while still carrying it on his own. The visual effects, the fake blood, the realistic and frankly real reactions, if you look at the production diaries of the film from the cast, elevate it to the utmost level where this scene has been replicated, duplicated, and homage to endlessly, but has never been done better. I think I froze.
All right. Okay, am I back?
Did I freeze or did Mark freeze?
All right, are we back? I froze too. I think it was me. Okay. Everybody give me a thumbs up if you got Cam.
Okay.
All right, I think we're good. All right.
Cool.
Well, you were good. All right, okay. Nazario.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. You can't get 1 minute.
Cam cannot overplay more the significance of John Hurt in that 2.5 minute scene where he says he's the most important thing in it. Maybe because he's detracting of the puppet effects that go wrong and that they didn't edit right out of the scene. Is it something that people remember from the Alien franchise? Yes, they do. That does not make it automatically the best thing. People remember a lot of things. People remember Arnold Schwarzenegger covering himself in mud in Predator. Things are memorable for different reasons. The best kill is Emil's death because it goes on stages. You do not expect him to go in this direction. You do not expect him to be covered in toxic waste and become a human melting pot. You do not expect his gang members to betray him. Like, don't touch me, man, get out of here. And you do not expect him to become literal soup in the next scene. He stops Clarence Boddicker. Yes, it's a shootout. It's a shootout, and it's a scene. It's a scene where anything can happen, and this is what happened. It just ended up happening that way. The thing in Alien is too short to be very significant. They don't have enough time to act the way he says. He says he saw that in the backstage footage because it didn't fit in the movie.
Fit in the movie, I believe. All right, let's bring in everybody. I think yours maybe fucking this thing up all hell.
I was so worried. I was like, oh shit, is my argument not going to get through? Although I believe the protocol in that case is like we reset to when I cut out and I get that time again, but I don't usually know.
Okay. All right, you guys
I haven't
ready?
seen that rule book.
What?
Okay. Brooklyn, start us off, please.
So I thought this was a really good fight, a lot better than the last one. I think for Nazario, he was kind of going on about like the 1-2 punch of like him melting and then exploding, and just kind of really going on with the technical, as opposed to like Cam's, where it's like this moment is such a big payoff for the movie and kind of sets the tone for it and whatnot. I ended up going up with Nazario though. And the reason was I just didn't hear enough from Cam in terms of the technical aspects to win me over on the argument. And I think Nazario just had I think it's just a little bit more knowledgeable in the area. And I think that just showed in the question.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. I honestly did go a little bit more with Cam. I don't know, like he kind of sold me, at least on the at least on how everybody was reacting, kind of sold the situation of how this was kind of like a clear changing of kind of total tone of at least the movie. And at least I think he did kind of get me at least kind of his tax on the scene of we don't really feel it. We're kind of cutting away. We don't really see it stuff. I don't know. Just yeah. I'll say with that. I'm going with Cam. Brian, break us off.
I got Nazario. I thought that I think that with the alien kill, I think that if the question was like, what was the most like important kill, what was the best first kill of movie, in that kind of thing, that his would definitely qualify. But just in terms of the best overall kill, I think that the Nazario made a good pitch for why the one from RoboCop is it's more creative. It's technically better because he hit on the fact that you can see like the puppeteering and the little poles and stuff in Alien, and the fact that his has like stages to it, so it just kind of escalates and made it more interesting.
Alrighty. Well, with that, Nazario gets the point of that. Ties us up. All right. Moving on to your third question, which was drafted by Cameron. It was a category of YA. And your question, simply, who is the most annoying character in a Divergent series? Now, it's Cameron's question, so he's going to lead us off by Nazario. And Cam, you got a minute.
To me, when it comes to characters in movies, there is nothing more annoying than a character who refuses to stick to being one thing and actually do it, and who is constantly undermining themselves and the movie around them. And that is why I chose the main character of the Divergent series, Triss, as the most annoying character in Divergent. Triss, despite being our hero, this noble hero, this chosen one, is constantly going around and crying about the things going on around her, despite her constant claims to be this noble chosen one. She constantly takes actions against the best interest of everyone around her, despite saying that her primary motivation is the help of everyone, when in reality, she keeps betraying that in honor of a boy that she's known for a total of 5 days and who kissed her once. Her existence as a character annoys the shit out of me, where she is a girl who becomes the chosen one because she has more than one personality trait. And then what does she do for the entire series of movies? She blandly acts, shows no real emotion or dynamic character arc, and is just one note pretty much the entire time. Both narratively as a character and in terms of her actions, she annoys the ever-loving shit out of me, and I will explain more.
Explaining more. Okay. All right. Nazario, you get a minute. Go.
For me, the most annoying
Okay. Alrighty. Here Cam.
1 second.
Minutes.
Oh. 1 second. 1 second. This fucking thing turned off. Hello?
Hello.
Wait, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Very good. Okay.
Good shit.
5 minutes.
Okay, yeah. You say that little girl has no reason to be there, but she absolutely does in terms of the narrative arc of the story. And she is there for one reason, to establish how far Dauntless is willing to go. They are willing to do more than just wipe out a group of adults, more than willing to just hypnotize people. They are willing to kill a helpless, hopeless child for no reason other than she's a little bit different than they are. That absolutely establishes narratively her reason for being there, where we see just how terrible of a person how terrible of people all of the Dauntless are, and how far they are willing to go to get what they want and get rid of the people they don't.
Dude, it could have been a dog. They could have gotten the same thing, putting a dog there, and the dog would have a reason to run around the house and get shot. Because that girl literally says, "Where's my mom? Go to your room. She told me not to go to my room, and I came here anyway. I get to die." It's a cheap character just put there for no reason, just to then have Tris actually try to save her and then get captured herself, discovered because they didn't know who they were looking for in the first place. Tris, in its case, she actually does have some character arc. You're saying she doesn't do at all. She goes from a shy, uncertain young woman to a confident and capable leader by the third movie. And yes, she cries, she's worried, she says she's the one. She shows different emotions because that is the main thing of the thing. If you are a divergent, you get to experience all this range of emotions, not to be the one thing. And that is exactly what she does. She is the audience point of view in the movie.
But the thing is, she's not paying off what the idea of being a divergent is. She has this cocky, holier than thou, better than thou attitude throughout a lot of the movies. And she doesn't really earn it, despite the fact, because she's constantly getting her ass kicked and literally dying at one point. And then you say she shows these emotions. All the emotion she ever shows is she cries. And when she's crying, as an actress, Shailene Woodley is not talented enough to pull off real crying. And so she does this really breathy and gaspy, like that. Like she thinks that crying is just struggling to be able to speak and acting like you're in pain, and that's the only emotion she is ever capable of showing. She doesn't make herself believably brave. She doesn't make herself believably badass. She is supposed to be this hero, and she comes off as pathetic and arrogant, and it annoys the shit out of me.
So you're basically telling me that Shailene Woodley is not a good enough actress for the role. That doesn't mean that the role is bad. The role is written. She's the one who has to pull it off. And you're actually answering a question of who's the most annoying actor in a YA movie. What I'm saying, I'm not even saying that the girl that I'm saying is annoying, the kid is a bad actor. She's a perfectly fine actress. It's just an annoying, stupid, nothing little character that has no reason to exist. And it brings me into the mind of the screenwriter, just putting her there as a cheap bridge from one thing to another. And to make it as obvious and transparent and having her say, I did not do the thing they told me to do, it just feels like insulting to the audience. That is a character constructed to be nothing.
You are faulting a scared and drugged little girl for making a mistake. She is
telling you he just did it.
I'm sorry that this girl is admitting that she made a wrong decision. I don't think that's annoying or a character flaw. I think that's a thing that a child would do when they realize they've messed up. She is accurately portraying the worry and the fear that a child will be going through in the situation. And it's not like she's sitting there screaming and crying her head off for 30 minutes or 5 hours like she's a child on an airplane. She is mostly calm. She has a little bit of tears in her eyes, but she's never whining, never weeping, never wailing. She doesn't actually take any annoying actions in terms of the narrative of the film. She doesn't get in the way, interfere, or have any real narrative decisions to make that will piss you off, because she doesn't matter outside of her showing that Dauntless is that evil.
But now you're saying that somebody that cries or that whines, it's annoying. That it's not real. Like when you have a character that has to go through all the emotions that Tris has to go, she has to grow, she has to develop, she has to suffer some tragedies. Of course she's going to cry. Of course she's going to learn from it. And she becomes a leader by the end of the series. Tris is a character that audience can empathize with because she struggles through the whole series. She's constantly grappling with her identity as a divergent, and she's making the best out of it in a situation that is impossible for most people. And what I'm telling you about the little girl is that it's an annoying character created for no purpose. Like I literally said, you could take that character out, replace it with a dog, and you probably have a better scene, because it's an annoying piece of nothingness that does not deserve to even be in that scene of the movie. Doesn't need to have that importance.
And I've told you multiple times, there is a reason. There is a narrative purpose for her being in that film. Sure, there is a narrative
Would have done by a dog, though.
And sure, there is a narrative reason for Tris being in these films, but she constantly fails to pay off her narrative reason due to bad acting, bad choices, and a frustrating character arc. It doesn't matter that she's supposed to be someone we can empathize with. She's so deeply unrootable that we can't.
Done. All right. Okay, Nazario, you'll get a minute. Start talking.
The audience does identify with Tris. If not, we wouldn't have gotten several movies out of it. We might not have had the finale, but we had enough to move the series forward to the point it got. And like I'm saying, it is her character to experience all these changes, to all these emotions. And again, you keep bringing out that Shailene Woodley cannot act in the role. That is not the character's issue. That is the actress issue. And it should have been corrected during the filming of the first movie. If they decided to go with it, then that means they was good enough for what they were considering for this. What I'm telling you about the little girl character is that she is annoying in its mere existence, because she literally has to say what is happening. She's an exposition thing. She says, what should I not do? You shouldn't go downstairs. And then she gets downstairs. She says, I went downstairs and she told me not to, but I did it anyway. It's a cheap way of a screenwriter to move the plot along with basically a gimmick that could have been done by an animal, a dog, something else. And it's not smart enough to not be annoying.
All right, time. Okay. Dario. Holzmann, want to make closing? Start talking.
I have said time and time again, there's a reason for her being in that story. And if you don't remember what it is by now, we're moving on. It doesn't matter if you say, oh, the actress does a bad job. If Pauly Shore played the character of Travis Bickle in Taxi Driver, it doesn't matter how good the writing is. You're going to think he's one of the most annoying characters in the history of film. There is no more annoying person that I have met in my life than those girls in high school who go, I'm not like other girls. And that is what Tris is for this entire thing. She is constantly taking actions against what she says she's doing, constantly saying, I'm special, but I need to fit in, and then doing things that make her clearly special. Her greatest fear is that the boy she kissed once 5 days ago is a little bit mean to her. At the beginning of Insurgent, despite being on the run, she feels the need to change her haircut to be a little bit different. She has this cocky, holier-than-thou attitude. All of these things that just get on the absolute nerves of everyone watching it. You say people related to her, so they made 3 movies. No, they made 3 movies because they made 3 books. And in 2013, any YA franchise got 5 movies if they wanted them. Just because the character got more movies and kept stuck around doesn't mean they're less annoying. It just means that they had to be there and continue annoying.
Okay. Wow. That was. Okay.
Jack Sparrow.
Yep.
Oh shit! Jack Sparrow hates children. So.
Voting about Divergent.
This was a really hard question for me to pick because I've argued a nearly identical question to this before, and I felt wrong choosing if I had the same answer as the last time. Because I've had to argue most frustrating character in Divergent, and I went, I feel wrong if I just choose a thing I've already argued.
You guys ready?
Yeah.
All right. I guess I'll start off.
It's my turn to start. Don't you dare.
It is. Go ahead. Then go ahead, Brian. You can take the bullet.
This one was pretty easy for me. I voted for Cam. I think that he made a real good. I mean, even just with his opening statement, he made a real good case for why Triss is annoying. As Nazario, great case for why his character is stupid and pointless and had no reason to be in the movie. But the question was annoying character, and I didn't think that equated annoying.
Okay, Brooklyn, what you got?
Yeah, I also went Cameron. I just don't think that the argument of like the performance of it doesn't take away from the annoyance. I think Cameron did a really good job of saying like how that kind of played into maybe necessarily like the kind of the writing that she got within the series. But yeah, I think that like the highlight of this was kind of the first little minute or so when they were talking about, because I think this already did a really good job of like how he's setting up like the how it was useless and it could have been a dog or anything, but the Cam also had the point of like, no, well, like this is for the villain arc. So I think that was a nice way to kind of start it.
Okay, yeah. Vote doesn't matter, but yeah. Clean sweep for Cameron on this one. I feel like where Cameron really got me was his closing and how Triss, I think, kind of they play off that character as the most special person, and she has probably just the most straightforward, just kind of whatever kind of high school girl arc that you can which is just terrible. Like, I mean, it kind of won me over on that one. I really, but yeah, with that, Cameron gets this next point. He's at 2.
The very first note that I have in my notes for that argument is the phrase, "I'm not like other girls."
Good to know. Cam gets his point. We're done. Nazario gets it. Going off to the 5th and bonus question. That by Brooklyn and Brian. And you guys are going to get your 4th question, which is drafted by Nazario, which I believe I don't know his directors or biopics. The question simply: who is the next person Tim Burton should make a biopic about? All right, Nazario's topic. Start us off 1 minute. Open.
I feel like the obvious choice here is Roald Dahl. Both he and Tim Burton share whimsical and macabre sensibilities, but not to the point where one invades the other. I do believe that movies like Edward Scissorhands or Night Before Christmas show what he can do with the fantastical elements of their books that Roald Dahl wrote. Also, he has a very fascinating life that includes being a fighter pilot in World War II, being an actual spy, before becoming a children's author. I think they both put emphasis on imagination and creativity, and they have how his own experiences in life shaped the way he saw the world when he created all these stories. And you can illustrate that by having something done in stop animation, a style that Tim Burton actually is very successful in, and show vignettes of the things that how his life inspires the books that he ended up writing. I think it's a good mix, and it would make a very interesting film.
All right. 3 seconds on the clock. All right. And Cameron, you got 1 minute.
Burton's best movies in the past have shown that one thing that he clearly empathizes with is the tortured artist archetype through things like Ed Wood and Edward Scissorhands, where he has this kind of weird outcast who doesn't necessarily fit in and has some darkness inside of them and is able to portray them as this deeply human and empathetic character. And that's why I chose Edgar Allan Poe. Edgar Allan Poe, for those who don't know, has one of the most tragic life stories of all time, where both of his parents died. He was left into foster care. His foster mother died. He was sent to college by by his foster dad and left to starve. He lost the woman that he was set to marry. He ended up marrying his cousin. His cousin died, and he was constantly tortured by all of these inner demons, by this alcoholism, but still managed to create some of the most beautiful and most iconic art that has ever been created. I think Tim Burton heavily empathizes with someone like Poe, and having his artistic style, especially going back to his roots of his greatest works of Edward Scissorhands and of Ed Wood, and taking those styles, taking those sympathies, and taking a real human and caring look at Edgar Allan Poe in a movie that we have never seen before would be a fantastic step for him, and he would nail it.
Time. Okay. These are two people. Alrighty. Guys, 5 minutes. On your go.
I think you have a mismatch of tone with Edgar Allan Poe. Is it somebody that Tim Burton really likes and is a fan of his work? Yes. He inspires a lot of work that he did, especially early on Edgar Allan Poe. But here's the problem. Edgar Allan Poe's life and the tone of his work is a lot more dark and haunting than what it is. People just think dark and gothic and think Tim Burton, but actually that is a misinterpretation. If you watch the style that Tim Burton actually portrays in most of his movies, he does a very campy way of doing dark gothic things. So that would be a mismatch of tone, because he couldn't give the seriousness a movie like that deserves. With Roald Dahl, which is all fantastical and whimsical, it's completely the opposite. He can use the style that he has used in movies before of stop animation and just go to town on children's stories that are a little too dark but a little campy at the same time.
See, but I think that's not the case. Edgar Allan Poe, as much as a lot of his most famous works are his darker ones, he also was a noted romantic poet. He wrote poems for Lenore. He wrote poems for his love, Elmira Royster. He wrote poems for Sissy Poe, who, as much as she was his cousin, was still a woman that he loved. He wrote these crazy and whimsical stories where the first ever murder mystery story written in history was a story by Edgar Allan Poe where it turns out that the murderer is an orangutan with a razor. This man had whimsy. He had fun. He had these crazy experiences. He had these love affairs. As much as he also had these tortured and painful experiences, he also had these other things. You keep saying that this would clash tones, and I don't think it would.
Yes,
Whereas
it would.
you're saying, yeah, we can see Roald Dahl as a fighter pilot in World War II and as a spy, and also him writing children's books. Those two things are so tonally unbelievably different that one half of your movie, no matter how interesting it might be, the other half is going to be so boring, because if I get to see cool stop motion fighter jets, I don't really care about watching a guy sitting at a desk writing a book.
Well, this is the thing that you're saying. You mentioned Lenore. Lenore is part of The Raven, which is a dark story. Like,
Yes.
And that is what I'm telling you, that it doesn't have the campiness that he usually works with. And yes, he can do things about across the people's lifetime that include things like being a fighter pilot, things like going to work. He did Big Fish. He showed you how he can do that in a campy environment, which is a little surreal, a little based on the truth, and you get a very interesting mix. So you can do something like that with the story of Roald Dahl. And yes, I'm not saying you're going to film him writing a book. I'm just saying you can use stop animation to illustrate the ideas or where it came from his life, how it adapted into these little vignettes or little stories that I can fill the movie with. Tonally, it would be very similar, like I'm saying, to something like Big Fish, when you have elements of reality being adapted by imagination and turning into something else. What I'm saying about Edgar Allan Poe, he's very dark. He is very gothic. And you can say that he was humorous and he made poems, but that is not what he's known for. And it's not what is expected when people want to see an Allan Poe movie.
But that's the thing, is Ed Wood wasn't known for being this passionate person. He was known for being this guy who made absolutely terrible movies. But Burton was able to humanize him and able to bring him to us as this figure that people fell in love with over the course of that movie. By making this biopic, Burton can give us the story of Poe, show us who he really is. And as much as he is best known for those darker Gothic poems, he can give a full light and a full story to it. At the end of the day, Burton's style, especially if you're doing a Roald Dahl movie, you want something in the style of Roald Dahl, and we've proven that a lot of his more recent works with styles similar to that, like Dumbo, like Alice in Wonderland, and even looking back at Charlie and the Chocolate Factory,
Alice in Wonderland is not Roald Dahl style.
Roald Dahl is specifically on record as stating that he is heavily influenced by Alice in Wonderland and Lewis Carroll as a whole. You can look it up,
but not for that movie.
But what I'm saying is that style clearly has clashed with with Tim Burton in the past. He is not capable of doing something that fits that style, that moves forwards in that way. Roald Dahl
I
is
just told you he did Big Fish, which is exactly what I'm talking about, and he can illustrate all the stop animation stories like he did with Nightmare Before Christmas, like he did with Corpse Bride, like he did with Frankenweenie. It's a style that he has collaborated in some form or another deeply, and he has the ability to do it. Other Roald Dahl stories have been adapted, produced by Burton, like James and the Giant Peach, and they find a way to make it work. You just add the reality of the life of the man who shares sensibilities with Burton in the way he actually created his work. He loved to write everything by hand, and you can have that done in the movie while somebody else types it, and the story just pops out of the imagination. When you just go to Edgar Allan Poe, it doesn't really give you a new perspective. It just is what it is. He's a dark writer who inspires dark stories.
But there is a new perspective. We can show who he really is. There is mystery and question in the life of Edgar Allan Poe, and Tim Burton is able to shed that light and give us who he really is.
Time. Okay. That go to Cameron. So 1 minute closing. You start talking.
At the end of the day, Tim Burton has gone on record saying that Poe is one of his favorite writers and that he is deeply, deeply influenced by Poe. Nazario mentioned shared sensibilities. There is no person whose sensibilities better line up with Burton's than Edgar Allan Poe, especially when looking at his most critically acclaimed works like an Ed Wood and like an Edward Scissorhands. Roald Dahl has a style that clashes with Tim Burton, as shown in his works that share a similar style. Burton's style doesn't necessarily lend itself well to doing this war story that Nazario was talking about. If we want, we saw a movie already that existed about a writer who also served in the war and how it influenced his decisions, and nobody gave a living shit about the movie Tolkien. Roald Dahl hated the idea of film as an art form, as a matter of fact. He's also a notably problematic figure. I don't want to see the part where he writes James Bond being an Asian man and you only live twice in his movie. I want to see Edgar Allan Poe taking a man he is passionate about, this heartbreaking story, shedding some real light on a person that people frankly don't know enough about and could do to learn some more about how he was a empathetic, heartbroken, and true, real person, instead of just this grim, macabre person that everyone makes him out to be, because there is so much more to him than that, and Burton's the guy.
Time. Okay. All right. Okay. Cameron. All right, Nazario. You got a minute.
He can say whatever he wants, but it's not the best face. Edgar Allan Poe is more complex and nuanced work, like he's saying, and that require a biopic with a more subtle approach. Burton is not subtle. He has the ability to indulge a lot in his signature flair, eccentricities, gothic campiness, and this is not what is needed. Overall, while a Tim Burton directed Edgar Allan Poe biopic may sound like a good idea, it could be challenging and potentially misguided because he will try to put his Burton brand on it. In Roald Dahl, it's a lot more of a synergy situation because he already has work in movies that are based on Roald Dahl's work. He did Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. He produced James and the Giant Peach. It's a style that he can work in, and he can make it work because it fits more with his gothic charm style. And yes, he wrote screenplays. He was in a World War II. He wrote children's book. He was a spy. It's a lifetime that encompasses all these things, not the secret love thing that is saying about Edgar Allan Poe. These are things that are facts, and he can explore them like he did in Big Fish, even an arc of a life.
Time. Okay. All right. Oh, boy. I don't remember where you guys were at. Oh.
This is the hardest one yet.
Yep.
That's right to step. These things are facts.
Okay. You guys got it?
Yep. Now it's you.
All right. All right. Yeah, this one's really tough. I think you both pitch really interesting movies. I think Tim Burton. To me personally, I don't think Tim Burton's honestly made a good movie in a little while. But I feel like, these I think could be interesting. It's probably one of the more interesting movies that Tim Burton probably made. I think when it kind of came down to it, I just kind of asked which one of these I think just seems more interesting to me? And I think if I'm just kind of going off of that, I feel like Nazario pitched, I think, a more, I don't know what pitch. I think it was probably more interesting. I think he kind of went off why Tim Burton and kind of Roald Dahl could probably clash better together, and I think he kind of mentioned how like he can kind of it be more whimsical and kind of be kind of more kind of like a weird world ish kind of almost like magical world. And I think that probably is what fits best for me, and I think that's why I went with Nazario. Brian.
Yeah, this one was especially hard for me because it's like I think they both picked people who are perfect for Tim Burton, just different Tim Burtons. You know, with the Edgar Allan Poe, it kind of gets more into like the gothic, kind of darker, tortured thing. They get in like the Sweeney Todds and the Corpse Brides and things like that. Whereas with Roald Dahl, it gets more into like the Tim Burton we saw in like you said, Big Fish, Charlie and Chocolate Factory, all that kind of stuff. So they're both perfectly suited for him. In the end, I also did vote for Nazario. I honestly, I couldn't even tell you what was the part that tipped it. I just got kind of the point where I had to pick one, and I think that he made some really good points. I know Cameron tried to attack with how fun would be it'd be boring to sit and watch him write a book, but at any point Nazario came back to that and pointed out all these other things he did before that, and and also, I mean, there's also the fact that Cameron's person writes books too, but he didn't talk about showing that. But yeah. Nazario.
Brooklyn, you don't count, but who would you count with?
You're
muted.
What this man? Second time I've done this today. A bunch of things that I want to mention. First off, as throughout the tournament, as like a competitor, a judge, or as like a person listening, my favorite question so far of the tournament. This is the closest that I've come to just wanting to put it as a tie. I think everything was kind of counteracted nicely in terms of the styles, and then whenever Cam kind of brought up, well, he's gone to the Roald Dahl level before and hasn't really worked, and then Nazario was like, oh well, he did it with James and the Giant Peach, and then that actually kind of works. But I also went with Nazario. I just thought he was able to kind of sell on the camp, and ultimately, I think in debate, I think his defense was just that much better than Cam's, and I think Cam was just throwing so much at him that I don't think there was enough to kind of penetrate.
Okay, sorry, clean sweeping that one. We got ourselves tie game.
I was really talking about how I crafted a full cast for that movie and never mentioned one of them because I didn't have the time.
Which means we're going to go into a bonus question, which I don't know, which went, spun it all, and ended up landing Melee. Okay. And the category we went on was comedy. And your question is simply, who is the best character from a 2000s comedy?
Okay, I'll go with Ron Burgundy, Will Ferrell.
I'll take Juno.
Juno from 2006's Juno, right?
2007's Juno Marcus.
God damn it. I'm not pacing, okay? Okay. Here we go, guys. Yeah, one last question. Speed round question. Best character, 2000s comedy. Gonna have Nazario go first. He's gonna get 45 seconds. Cameron's gonna get 45 seconds. Then goes back to Nazario for 30. Cameron for 30. Then after that, see who's gonna win.
That's it.
All right. 45 seconds when you start talking, Nazario.
I pick Ron Burgundy because he's an instant classic of a character. Will Ferrell was born to play this character. He embodies that news anchor from the 70s with wholeheartedly in this movie. He has hilarious moments. He projects how men were supposed to be manly and with full of toxic masculinity in the 70s in a hilarious way that is very memorable. Like people keep quoting Glass of Emotion and whoa, that escalated quickly up to this day because it's a character that is filled with the spirit of what it's intended to be and yet hilarious enough to keep it going. Juno is not really that memorable a character. It's a girl who was pregnant. The funny parts or the memorable parts of Juno are the things that happen around her. People even remember more Rainn Wilson saying hot dog and other quippy quotes from the store more than what they say about Juno herself.
All right, it's time. See you in a couple seconds. All right, Cameron, you're 45.
I think what makes Juno the best character in a 2000s comedy isn't necessarily the fact that she is the most objectively funniest, while she is still funny, but it's that she's empathetic, she's real, and she has this fantastic story arc. She goes through this struggle that is very real, very realized, and you see the pain, the emotion that she goes through while still carrying it with stride, having these jokes, having this comedy. Ron Burgundy is constantly undercut by the characters around him being funnier than him. He is a deeply shallow character where there is no real depth. He is just one joke of this masculine, manly man, which hasn't particularly aged well, going at all times. You say he has memorable quotes, but memorable quotes don't mean he's the best character. It means that the screenplay is maybe better, but him as a character is not necessarily the best. Juno is memorable. She is absolutely empathetic. She goes through this arc. She goes through this struggle. She has amazing relationships with the people around her, and she leaves you deeply emotionally and comedically affected by the time the movie is over.
When you ask who the best character in a comedy is, you focus on the comedy aspect of it. If you want to focus on the dramatic part of Juno, she is filled with dramatic roles around her. She has Jennifer Garner, she has Jason Bateman around him, that they have this story about their marriage falling apart. And Juno doesn't become the most memorable thing in her own movie. Like I said, you saying the characters around Ron Burgundy keep shining him in the scenes. The characters around Juno are everything that people remember from that movie. In this one, Ron Burgundy is the center. He's classic, and he become a meme. He's so funny because he's an iconic character.
All right, take out iconic character. All right, finishes up, Holzmann. 30 seconds.
The question is not who is the funniest. The question is who is the best within a comedy, and Juno is far better. You cannot say that Juno is undercut by the characters around her when she is constantly interacting with them, constantly giving them these things, and constantly playing off of them in this beautiful, empathetic, real way. You can't name any of the characters around Juno because Juno outpaces all of them. But you have Brick, you have Champ, you have these other characters, you have Veronica, who undercut them. The funniest character, if that's your argument, is Brick in that movie, but the best character is Juno, with heart, with passion, with emotion, with an arc, with the ability to make you feel something and not just be one note. She has depth.
Time. Okay. You guys are not making it easy. Okay. Yes, we do the switcheroo. Okay. All right. Sorry. I feel like you guys have been waiting on me like this almost the entire time. I'm always the last one. You guys good?
Yeah.
You are filling in the role of Tim quite well.
Okay. Is it me, Brian?
It's Brooklyn.
No, it's me.
He went last time.
Do it, Brooklyn.
I'm gonna keep this short and sweet, purely based on how effectively they answered the question of best character. I went with Cameron.
Okay. I mean, this one's really tough, just on a personal level. Ron Burgundy, it's like one of my favorite comedic characters of all time. I love that guy. One of my favorite movies ever. But I think as Brooklyn did put it, just kind of going off of we put in the question, just kind of going off the character. I do have to give it to Cameron here. I think he better explain, I think, why Juno is a more fleshed out character. And then the knockout blow for me was when he brought up Nazario not being able to name other characters in.
Yeah, he Googled the names, man.
No, I didn't. I could show you my search history.
Please don't.
Brian, doesn't count.
You
What
are.
do you got?
I am a man in my 20s.
What do you got?
Yeah, I said Cam as well. I mean, Ron Burgundy is a great choice. I think the question is, as Nazario is interpreting it as like the funniest character in a comedy, but I think just as best character in a comedy, it involve every aspect of the character, including the emotional, the empatheticness of them, and that's what Cameron explored in his.
Okay, which means, and your winner, Cameron Holzmann. So why don't we just God, I feel like it just totally
Post-match interviews.
Yep. Start with Nazario. Nazario, you know what? You came in here hot and heavy, kind of like we thought you would. Just kind of doling out. I don't know, man. It's my first time here. I don't know what I'm doing. In fact, why don't you just tell me how you feel? Tell me how you feel.
I feel like you guys are shit judges. I made the best argument all night long, and you can find in ways not to give me the points. Other than that, you're fine as a host, I guess. The reality is that he found a niche. He found the niche to interpret the question, not in the spirit of what it was asked, but in the technicality of what it was. And hey, you all bought it, so good for him.
Okay.
To be fair, that's how I interpreted the question as well. So I don't know. Anyway,
Nazario, you are still a champion somewhere.
I'll see you next season, I guess.
Bringing on our winner, Cameron Holzmann, was still alive in the tournament.
Yes.
How do you feel? Please tell me.
I feel good. Yeah, that was a lot closer than I would have liked. I hate going to the speed round with a passion. It gives me nothing but anxiety, but I've done it now twice in this tournament, so it's apparently going to keep happening. But no, I feel good. I feel tired. Yeah, like I said at the beginning, Nazario is someone who could not have a more different debate style than I do. But he was able to work around the things that I had on his questions, and yeah, like I think just knew more. Like Emil and RoboCop is a kill that I distinctly do not remember in any way, shape, or form. But it is what it is. At the end of the day, I won. Yeah, that final question. I knew I had to go not just for pure straight comedy, where my first instinct was a character who very much is that, but I reread the question. I went, this is best character. Let's run with that and just do everything I can to keep the question on that track. And luckily that worked out. Yeah, I'm tired. This was about as close as it could get.
Well, I was looking through the tournament seasons, but I failed. Brian,
I know who I play the winner of. I can say it if we want me to. I believe I play the winner.
Please do, because you're not left with this information.
I think I play the winner of Jacoby v. Kastner.
Sure, let's go with that.
Yeah, that sounds right. Who do you want to play from those two?
Jacoby obviously is the scarier of the two. He is a former champion here. He was a champion for a solid little bit. But also I think we have like very similar interests, so it could play out in a very interesting way. Kastner, I think, is a person who the things we like could not be more different from each other. And also he's never held a belt. He's never played for the belt here. And so it's like someone who I think I have a better chance in the questions, but a harder chance in the debate, or someone who I think I have a better chance in the debate, but a worse shot with the questions. It's a flip of a coin, but either way, I'll play whoever I get.
Fair enough. See you again. See you later, Mr. Holes, man. Guys, we got through it. I don't know how we did, but we did it. We finished the match. And I think we got a pretty good one. It just went back and forth. Both guys got splits. Both got clean sweeps. You know what? And I think we got what we were promised here. But what you guys tell me you think? Starting with Brooklyn. Tell me what you think about it.
Yeah, I thought this was really good. I thought this was a really good showcase of Nazario in terms of his endurance in the free form, and no matter what's being thrown at him, I think he's able to kind of maneuver around it. Whereas Cam, I really got a good sense of how he is able to kind of use his strengths whenever necessary. I felt like there was a couple of questions where he really kind of came out guns blazing, and just how he's able to kind of use that energy throughout the match. So, but I'm really excited for whoever Cam goes on to face.
Right. Brian?
Yeah, I mean, like you already said, this you can't get any closer than this. I mean, 2 split decisions and 2 clean sweeps. So it all goes to the bonus round, which the bonus round's always tough because you got to think a lot on your feet real fast and try and come up with a valid argument and try not to sound like you're just rambling. I think they both did a good job given what they had. So yeah, this was fun. I look forward to seeing the next match for Cameron as well as seeing Nazario back next season.
All right.
And you, Mark, did a good job. Good job.
I don't know about that. Listen, guys, I think usually Tim tells you, what you got next. I don't know what we got next. I mean, I only
keep
help
watching
out.
Multiplex.
Yeah. And if you have a real problem with the way I'm listening, please yell at Tim. His messages are wide open. Just even messages when you just got time. But thank you, our competitors: Nazario Montenegro, Cameron Holzmann, judges Brooklyn Vale, Brian Michaels. Please watch everything else here at Multiplex, not just debate. Or if you do, please God, just God's sakes, come back, be well.
There we go. Thank you very much. Please come again. We have a lot more groceries.
Oh.